ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello again, I am Nifemi Yoguntoye with the CoreTV News this hour. The relative peace of Kano has been shattered with a bomb and gun attack in the Asian city. At least 15 people have been confirmed dead when gunmen struck at the Federal College of Education. The casualties include the 2 bombers who were part of the attackers. The police confirmed that 30 others were also injured during the attack. This is the second bomb attack at a school in Kano in almost 2 months. Meanwhile, President Goodluck Jonathan has commended the prompt action of the police in confronting I'm just going to go on to the next story now. President Goodluck Jonathan has commended the prompt action of the police in confronting the perpetrators of Wednesday's bomb and gun attack in Kano. He also commiserated with the residents on the loss of lives recorded when insurgents attacked the Federal College of Education in the city. Speaking through a spokesman, Ruben Abati, the president assured the citizenry of government's readiness to enhance the ability of the security forces to take on the terrorists. He urged security personnel to ensure that they are even more alert and proactive in the future to stop terrorist attacks in Kano and other parts of the country. Traditional rulers from northern Nigeria have expressed worry at the dimension the insurgency is taking. The monarchs are particularly concerned by reports that insurgents have installed new emirs in some of the towns they overran. The Northern Traditional Council expressed dismay over the development and called on the federal government and security agencies to act fast. Sultan of Sokoto Abubakar Sahad III told journalists after a meeting in Kaduna that traditional rulers cannot keep mute over the security situation because the people are being killed daily.
As traditional leaders, we are very concerned and very worried about the happenings in the northern states, most especially the insecurity very prevalent in the northeast in particular and other states in general, and also the economic development or lack of economic development in our various states of the north. We therefore convene this conference of the chairman so as to sit very closely, discuss all issues affecting insecurity and economic development of our region, and then take our case to Mr. President, who is saddled with leading this country by Almighty God.
The Senate has summoned Nigeria's defense authorities over the $9.3 million cash seized in South Africa. They expected to provide more insight into government's explanation that the money was meant for a legitimate arms deal. Chairman Senate Committee on Army and Defense, Judge Sekibo, disclosed to journalists in Abuja that the Chief of Defense Staff, Alex Bade, and the Chief of Army Staff, Kenneth Menema, are expected to attend the meeting. Also invited for the closed-door session with senators is the National Security Advisor, Sambo Dasuki. The meeting is slated for Tuesday next week. Meanwhile, reactions have started trailing the recent seizure and arrest of a private jet and 2 Nigerians and an Israeli in possession of the $9.3 million on board the aircraft. Against the backdrop of recent claims by the federal government that the seized plane was on a legal mission to source for arms. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, called for clarification on the issue. Falana, who also decries the link of the aircraft to the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Ayo Orishajafu, described the entire development as unfortunate and a shame on Nigeria.
Something just happened 2 days ago in South Africa. $9.3 million was smuggled from Nigeria to South Africa. Again, the plane that was used for that illegal operation is said to be owned by the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Ayo Orishajafu. Efforts have been made. This is very important for all of us. Efforts have been made to play on our collective intelligence by saying that that plane has been leased to another company by Reverend Orishajafu. We have never been told that the pastor has the right under the law to turn his plane to a kapu and rent it out. But be that as it may, up to now, we have not been told who rented the plane. The government attempted yesterday, the federal government, very embarrassingly, to say that, oh, the federal government is involved in the deal, that fund was sent to South Africa to buy weapons. Of course, since we are fighting Boko Haram, everything goes. But please, we want to ask them, if a government, a legitimate government, is going to buy ammunition in any part of the world, why must you hire two private people whose identity we don't know yet, and an Israeli to do that for you, when you have the Ministry of Defense and two ministers in that ministry? Who gave out that contract? But that is not where I'm going. Under the Nigerian Money Laundering Act of 2011, any amount being taken out of Nigeria must be declared at the airport. The sum of $9.3 million was not declared by anybody.
Watching CoreTV News on the hour, more stories coming up shortly after this break. Stay with us.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe and watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes and bleeding from the eyes, ears and nose, especially when these symptoms are found in persons coming into Nigeria from other West African countries. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water or use a hand sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Welcome back. Governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, have resolved to back President Goodluck Jonathan for a second term in office. This is the outcome of the several hours of deliberation in Abuja. Chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, Godswill Akpabio, briefed journalists on the decisions reached at the meeting.
Today, the PDP Governors Forum met and discussed a lot of issues that had to do with our dear country, a number of issues that had to do with our dear country and our party. And we merged with this communique. So at the end of our meeting today, we resolve as follows. One, the PDP Governors Forum hereby endorses Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR President, Commander-in-Chief, of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, for a second term in office. And we all resolve to further support his bid for re-election come 2015. The PDP Governors Forum urges all PDP faithfuls across the country to support this decision and this gesture, which we believe will enable Mr. President to become the sole presidential candidate of our great party come 2015 election.
In the meantime, the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party also last night unanimously endorsed President Goodluck Jonathan as the party's sole candidate for the 2015 presidential election. The BOT members rose from a meeting at the banquet hall of the presidential villa in Abuja just before midnight with the resolve to back the president. Former Information Minister Professor Jerry Gana briefed the media alongside Deputy Senate President A.K. Kwerimadu and PDP BOT Secretary Walid Jibril. He explained that the PDP governors agreed that none of them will vie for the party's ticket with President Jonathan.
The Board of Trustees also unanimously resolved that because of the excellent work which Mr. President has done, because of the mature way he's been leading Nigeria, because of the humble, dedicated, empathetic way he's been handling very sensitive issues, the Board of Trustees is delighted, the Board of Trustees is convinced, the Board of Trustees is overwhelmed by the fact that we have a very impressive candidate, and therefore the Board of Trustees also unanimously resolved that President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan be the sole candidate of the party in the forthcoming elections. That was unanimously resolved with a standing ovation, and the BOT is very, very excited. I would like to take the opportunity to also say the BOT thanked the governors for their wisdom, for their maturity, for their love of the party. And I want to emphasize, we asked the governors, and they said all the PDP governors, all of them signed the document, which is going to be presented to Mr. President in another session.
Consensus building is also part of democracy. And so, for us in the PDP, we believe that the BOT is the conscience of the party. So if the BOT have agreed to endorse Mr. President as candidate of the party, what we're simply saying is that we are persuading every member of the party to accept that position. So we're not going to force any person, but we're making a strong statement. We are persuading our people strongly to accept this position for the reasons earlier mentioned. And so it's also important for us to know that we need to reward hard work. We need to reward their commitment. We need to reward their achievement. We need to reward performance.
The Nigerian authorities insist that the country's entry points are now better manned to prevent the incursion of Ebola. President Goodluck Jonathan gave the assurance in a rare interview with State House correspondents. He also hailed Lagos and Rivers state governments for cooperating with the federal authorities to contain the disease.
There's one thing that the whole country came together, worked together. There were no issues of politics, there were no issues of religion, there was no issues of ethnicity. And that's why we've been able to contain the Ebola. If the whole Nigeria did not agree and work, we wouldn't have succeeded. I must also use the opportunity to thank all the governors, because I met with all the governors and their various commissioners for health, and all the states set up machineries to manage the Ebola, if at all comes up. And I have to specifically appreciate the governor of Lagos State and the governor of Rivers State that we have incidents of Ebola, how they worked with the federal government to manage the situation. Presently, there is no Ebola case in Nigeria. Nobody in Nigeria has Ebola now. All the people that had the symptoms of Ebola have recovered. We lost, out of the 19, we lost 7. And the others have recovered. Yes, there are few people we are still observing. I'm not also saying that we may not record Ebola again, as long as Ebola is still in the West Coast. Guinea, it is there in Guinea-Conakry, it is there in Liberia, it is there in Sierra Leone. The likelihood that a character like of the late Sawyer may come in through one way or the other is also open. But government is also very mindful of that. Presently, our airports are properly protected. If Sawyer were to arrive in Nigeria now, no Nigerian could have contacted Ebola because of the level of preparation.
In a related issue, Nigeria has been free of the Ebola virus disease in the last 1 week. Health Minister Onyebuchi Chukwu disclosed this after this week's Federal Executive Council meeting. He also gave an update on some of the suspected cases, as well as the number of people under observation.
Nigeria has for 1 week now had no single case of Ebola virus disease. So presently, as we speak, there is nobody suffering from Ebola virus disease in Nigeria, and it has been so for the last 1 week. Within the week, however, there was a suspected case, a student from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. But we've concluded all investigations. She was Ebola negative. She's never had any Ebola virus disease. So Ile-Ife, there's no problem there. There's no incident of Ebola virus disease, and nobody is being placed under surveillance in Osun State. So Nigeria has monitored 517 persons, no problems after 21 days. This is total number that we've removed from our surveillance. Of these 517 contacts, 347 were under surveillance in Lagos State, while 164 were in Rivers State and 6 in Enugu. As you already know, there's no problem in Enugu State at all. Nobody there is under any kind of surveillance for Ebola virus disease.
The Senate now wants the federal government to immortalize the late Ameyo Adedevo for the role in stemming the tide of the Ebola virus in the country. The lawmakers noted that if she had not personally restrained the late Liberian-American Patrick Sawyer, he would have ended up spreading the virus in the larger community. The Senate also hailed the leadership displayed by President Goodluck Jonathan and Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola in containing the disease.
The deadly Ebola virus crept into Nigeria while the Senate was on recess. Now, within days of resumption, senators are speaking in government's efforts to contain the disease that has killed over 2,000 people in West Africa in only 3 months. The motion was moved by Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, but enjoyed the backing of virtually all senators who signed up as co-sponsors. One after the other, they commended the roles played by the federal government and Lagos State in containing the disease.
As soon as this thing came up, the Lagos State government set up a committee that went around the miracle centers, the churches, to tell them, to plead with them, not to accept anybody in the name of performing miracle. If the Lagos government had not done that, and if the miracle centers did not take to this caution, probably today it would have been a very, very big disaster. So we really need to commend the Lagos State government for being so proactive.
With unity, we can fight and win any battle in this country, including battle against poverty and insurgency. Because of the leadership roles played by Mr. President and the Governor of Lagos and all officials connected with this fight against Ebola in our country.
And now that Nigeria has no new case of Ebola, at least one senator says the time is ripe to allocate funds for research.
1976, 38 years ago. So what happened between that time and the second one? It was not because something was found for the cure, but it went away just for it to come back in a more devastating manner. So for us to prevent future occurrence, we should start from now in allocating money for research in our various university teaching hospitals and other research agencies, so that by the time we don't pray it comes again, but if it does, at least we will be battle ready to face the scourge.
After the speeches, Senate President David Mark summed up the views of the federal lawmakers by supporting the call for the government to honor the late Dr. Ameyo Adedevu and others who died saving Nigeria from Ebola.
I think we can't thank Dr. Adedevu enough, because she went out of her way beyond anybody's expectation to control Patrick Sawyer, who would have otherwise done havoc much beyond our imagination. And I think the nation would do well to honor her, and indeed other workers in the health industry who sacrifice their personal lives just to make sure that the rest of us are alive.
The Senate consequently urged the government to immortalize the late Dr. Adadevu, demanded better surveillance at all ports of entry. And before adjourning, senators honored all the health workers who died in the course of battling Ebola virus with a minute of silence.
May the soul of Dr. Adadevu and the souls of all those who lost their lives as a result of the Ebola virus disease rest in perfect peace.
The Tertiary Education Trust Fund has disbursed 135 billion naira as intervention fund to all tertiary institutions in the country. A breakdown shows that each university is to get 912 million naira, while individual polytechnic is to receive 661 million naira. Minister of Education Ibrahim Shekarau discussed this at a two-day TED Fund annual strategic planning workshop in Abuja.
This year, each university is receiving the sum of 912 million. In normal intervention. Don't ask me what about the abnormal one. If there is any, ask the chairman. I don't know about that. Each polytechnic is receiving the sum of 661 million, while each college of education is to receive the sum of 581 million. This, I'm sure you agree with me, is a very remarkable increase, and I enjoin the beneficiaries to effectively and transparently apply for the funds. It should be noted, therefore, that these interventions are a supplementary to normal annual budgetary provisions for each institution by the federal and state governments. I wish to stress that the TED Fund intervention must be properly prioritized and applied to projects that directly add value to teaching and learning and to postgraduate training for academic staff, as well as to research and scholarly publications.
Outside Nigeria, Ukraine Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk says the country will screen 1 million civil servants for loyalty to the new government. The parliament passed a new law on Tuesday allowing the vetting of government officials and the removal of corrupt officials. Yatsenyuk says all departments who worked under previous President Viktor Yanukovych would be vetted. Ukraine has had months of unrest since Yanukovych was ousted in February. Government troops have been fighting pro-Russian separatists in the east for months until a truce was signed on 5th September. Yatsenyuk made this declaration in a televised cabinet meeting, saying 1 million civil servants of different kinds will be under this law, including the whole cabinet of ministries, the Interior Ministry, the Intelligence Services, and the Prosecutor's Office. And that wraps it on CoreTV News this hour. I am Nifemi Okuntoye. Thanks for being there.